Hi, my name is Neff Rodriquez. I am a POC author and queer author. You can find me on Instagram at Neff's Bookshelf, and you can find me at TikTok at Neff1 Rodriguez. I like to post diversity in books and authors and whatnot, and hopefully I can be a part of them.
Well, I want to thank you so much for being here with me today. I know it's not easy to pull yourself away from those pages that you've desperately been working on writing, but I do want to start. I do want to start by asking you, what are your thoughts regarding diversity and inclusion, or the lack thereof, within the publishing industry?
Well, honestly, diversity is, of course, very important. The world doesn't consist of just one type of person that looks like this or has this type of culture and does these types of things. The world is rich with all types of cultures and traditions, and we need more of that within publishing industry. I grew up like reading books that were created by authors, and I never once read about a girl who looked like me, had background like me, or any of my friends that like, because I have multicultural friends and whatnot. So I never read a book that had them in it either. So it kind of made me feel weird sometimes. But honestly, I thought that it was normal because I wasn't exposed to those types of things, like diversity within reading and whatnot. Honestly, I chose to self-publish because in truth, I don't want someone to own the rights to my book and have a say in what I need to take out when this is the story that I want to create. That bothers me. It takes away from the author. I mean, like some people do use publishing, like traditional publishing, and their books are great, but sometimes they do want to add things that were taken out from the book. I don't want that to happen to me. Mm-hmm. I got inspired because there was like this trend going around on TikTok before I even joined last year, about authors who became indie authors and self-publishing authors, and they were exposing traditional publishing, like the dark side of traditional publishing. And one of the videos that inspired me the most was about this African-American woman. She was talking about how she worked with an editor and a publisher. And I totally forgot her name, and I regret so much not saving that video because that was what inspired me the most. So basically in the video, she talked about how she worked with the editor and the publishing company with her book. She stated that they removed a lot from her culture and in her book, and that made her feel like it removed something from inside her, like a part of her culture, who she is. And she said at the end of the video, she said that it didn't feel like it was her story anymore. It felt like it was whitewashed and that they removed her from it. So I don't want that to happen to me. And then for me, I spoke to a ghostwriter and an editor, and I asked them a simple question. I was like, is it okay if I can use like Spanish language most of the time? Mm-hmm. And they were like, no, you should just like make it very minimal, maybe use 3 word sentences or like 1 word. And I'm like, that doesn't feel real to me.
Right.
But for some reason I was like, okay, I got to change this. I got to remove this. I got to do this, that, and the third, and put myself in that mindset that I have to remove something that I wanted to have in my book. So like I was sitting in my room editing everything out, and then out of nowhere, like I just felt like crying from frustration and anger, because I'm like, these people who are telling me to remove things from my book wouldn't even go buy my book in the first place.
Of course.
And it kind of sucks. So it made me like second guess doing that decision. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go with what I choose to do. This is my book at the end of the day. I'm not going to have someone tell me that I need to remove certain things that are very important to me. That is something I will never like let anyone do. Growing up, I read about the same girl in just different stories. And like that bothered me. They all had the same mannerisms, the same way of speaking.
What do you feel about the representation in queer and BIPOC authors in science fiction and fantasy?
I don't know about the word enough, because there should always be more and more and more every day. I want more queer books and stories, more by POC representation. I want more queer by POC people in representation and authors. I want to read about a person of color who's queer, who has powers and is controlling a kingdom, or like came out from space from another planet, or like is in a whole nother universe of another world, or is an assassin. Like I want those stories. Like I've never read any, I'm gonna be honest, I've never read a book like mine. So being young and growing up in a world full of like cultures and traditions and color and so much history is so important. And to know that you're important by other people showing you in those things, instead of just seeing the same blonde hair, blue-eyed Barbie doll or a character in a book with the same mannerisms, way of speaking, when you're nothing like them and you can't relate to them at all. And it makes people feel like they're not accepted. Like I said, growing up, I only read books about the same girl and different stories. Not knowing better, I wanted to read about and write about other people of color, genders, all LGBTQ individuals. I want to see different cultures in fantasies and science fiction books. I want to see queer stories that are not just about coming out. There's more to a person who is a part of the LGBTQ community than just their coming out story. And being gay or bi or lesbian or trans or non-binary is accepted and it's not looked as something abnormal, when in real life, people have been doing this since before we even learned how to speak. So many resources that authors can use when it comes to representation. You don't have to be like a person of color to write certain individuals into your story. Just use the resources like sensitive readers. They're at your disposal, use them. They point out like certain things that are problematic in your stories so that you can change them. Honestly, in my opinion, is the first step is to be quite honest that there is a lot of problematic things in the world and we should educate ourselves on how to be more respectful to people of color, understanding the queer community instead of judging them, and having and unlearn these negative idealistic views that you were taught growing up. It's about educating yourself. I'm not saying I know everything because I don't, and there are a lot more things that I need to learn and that I will learn because I'm going out there and trying to. I know I'm gonna make mistakes, obviously, everyone does, but at least, you know, we need to learn. And it's not just about purchasing from a bi POC author or a queer or the queer community, taking accountability and speaking up for those situations. Like if you hear a family member or friend be disrespectful and you know you support them, say something. Even if you're not going to be able to change their mind, speak up, because that means more to us.
I just want to thank you because everything you said was incredibly thoughtful and profound. And I can tell that you're passionate and you are very willing to fight for your beliefs. And that is hard to stand behind your convictions. And I want to thank you so much. I really look forward to reading your book. I will definitely get on that pre-order list.
So definitely
ready.
My goal is to finish the first draft this year. I'm reading 2 books.
I know, I read them simultaneously.
Yeah, I'm writing one that's a queer romance and one that's a straight romance because as a bisexual woman, I just don't like one certain thing. I like both men and women. So I'm like, I don't have to just stick to liking women in my books. I can like both women and men in both books. So.
Well, thank you so much again. And I know you'll be successful. I can just feel it and it's exciting.
I'm trying.